everyone. This is Johnny Cass, the nerdiest player in the game, not the dirtiest. I love Ric Flair. And I'm drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody. Want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin at Moe's be a brand ambassador. They encourage everybody to break out of that comfort zone, live their best self, which, hey, that's what got me starting the podcast. But they got great clothing, great apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, hats, all that good stuff. Be sure, link will be in the description, and use the code Drinkin at Moe's to get 10% off your order. Let's fucking go.
Welcome, Drinkin at Moe's. Big Mo here. Be sure YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell. All that good shit helps with that damn pain in the ass algorithm. We're most places you can find your podcast. Today, I'm excited to have with me Johnny Cass. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I had a blast this past weekend filled with wrestling and traveling.
You know, I had quite the one myself. Starting really clear out to Wednesday, a friend of mine that used to live with my wife and me, his wife got him tickets to AEW down in Kansas City and asked if I'd go with him, so we went to that. And then Friday, promotion here in Omaha. A lot of people in the Midwest know Magnum Wrestling used to be ran by the late, great Jason Strife, had their, I guess, re-debut, in a matter of speaking. So I went to that. And then got to go to the Omaha debut of Mid-Death Pro. That was a fun experience, to say the least.
Oh yeah, man! I bet.
Oh
they're
man!
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. They're trying to get me to come out to a couple of Mid-Death Pro shows, and you will in the future be seeing me there.
Nice. That'll be fun. I know. I'd been curious about their shows, and then when I got word they were going to be coming to Omaha, I'm like, oh damn, I got to check this out. And yeah, to say the least, I got some good footage for my vlog I do at most events, and got to, I didn't think that I was going to win their little raffle, but I knew the VIP tickets included, like, it doubled as a raffle thing for like a signed thing that was used in the show. I didn't know until they walk over with a section of a door that they had signed by everybody on the card, and hands it over to me. I'm like, oh, thank you.
That's pretty cool.
Talk about most unique item of all of my collections in general. Most unique item I have. But first thing I like to really start off with everybody with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started, deciding to make the leap into the ring.
All right, so it started out back when I was about 4 or 5 years old. Maybe I want to say 2 years, maybe 3 years after SummerSlam 91. My dad bought the VHS tape of it. Yes, tapes, not disc or DVDs or Blu-ray disc, whatever, what all these other kids like probably don't even know what I'm talking about, but yes. And we sat down and we watched it, and it was I believe it was 91, or it could have been 92, the one where Savage was marrying Elizabeth.
Oh, right. I know the one you're talking about. I can't
Yeah.
remember the year specifically, but I remember the event.
Yeah. And Hogan immediately like grabbed my full on attention. Like I immediately fell in love with him, immediately fell in love with Macho Man, and just seeing, I guess, the masculinity and their attire, their shining attire, they just made them look like real life heroes. And I'm sure like there's a lot of people out there that felt the same way during that time. And it was like, you know, we got comic books with Superman, Batman, and tons of other superheroes too. But then on TV and professional wrestling, you had Hulk Hogan, Warrior, Jake the Snake, Honky Tonk Man, and a plethora of these guys. And they just, it's like if they were coming close to your town, you could see these guys in person and possibly even run into one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And so that kind of just like, I don't know, just watching wrestling back then when I was that young just kind of took my breath away. And so as I got a little bit older, I learned that my grandfather also used to be a professional, well, amateur boxer, and he had the chance to go pro. There was somebody out in Oregon who reached out to him at the time. My grandfather's record is 88 wins, and I can't remember how many losses, but he had a total of about 120 something fights.
Okay,
And
that's a good majority wins right there. Yeah.
oh yeah, like enough to impress somebody that's like that far away, and he's from Iowa. So he eventually talked to my grandma about it, and my grandma said that pretty much if you were to do this, then I'm not going to be with you anymore. And it was at that time where my grandfather decided that he wanted to live the family life and retire from boxing, and he did so.
You know, understandable. You know, I mean, it definitely is a tempting thing to think about when that offer comes in, but you know, for family is a very important thing to a lot of people,
Oh
and
yeah.
when something like a situation like that comes up, you know, it really is one of those things. It's like, well, I have this over here, but my family, I can't be without that.
Right.
So it's a little bit tricky of a situation to think about, but it sounded like he made a good decision.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if he would have chose to go on with boxing professionally, like I wouldn't even be here right now talking to you.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, you bring up, I mean, some of the guys that helped me fall in love with wrestling. Like, I forget how damn old I was, but good Lord, I'm about to turn 40, and I remember the guys like Hogan, like Warrior, like the Road Warriors, just those that over the top, just intensity. And I mean, Road Warriors, them damn spiked shoulder pads and shit, and
Oh yeah.
just seeing that, and I'm just like, I remember one of the first things I saw, and I'm just like, this is, and seeing the crowd reactions to them, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever.
Right, right.
And then when you decided to get into the ring, what kind of helped make you decide to go ahead and make that leap? Because everybody's really got their own story from when they got started as a fan to when they decided to make that leap in.
All right, I'll kind of continue on from my story then. So we actually in my household started watching Raw. For some reason, my dad would record WCW in his bedroom, and he would let us watch Raw for whatever. I've always assumed like maybe he felt WCW was too edgy, but Raw was okay, even though it was the Attitude Era. And so I became very very quickly became a fan of Austin, Rock, Shamrock, and kind of I would say a little bit before the Attitude Era. Like I got to see Bret Hart, Owen Hart, the Hart Foundation. Ahmed Johnson was the first wrestler that I kind of really started watching on a regular basis, and I like instantly fell in love with the guy too, because he was like one of my favorites from Raw. And it just moved on from there. And then I want to say around 98 to 2001 is when I started getting really, really heavily hardcore and like interested in wrestling. Then I saw the guys like the Hardys, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian. I got to see the Radicals come over to WWF. That was a cool moment. And just seeing like all of this stuff, that kind of made me want, at some point in my life, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I never actually got to go to any wrestling events, even though I had an opportunity with my older brother, but my dad wouldn't let me go with him because I guess I was about maybe 9 or 10 at the time, which is understandable. But I got to go to my first wrestling event in Cedar Rapids, Iowa in 2005. And seeing that for the first time live, you know, I got to see Chris Masters, Carlito, Edge, Lita, RVD, John Cena, Triple H, you know, going on and on, as well as Eugene when he was there. And it was like you could feel like the intensity, the electricity through the crowd. Everything meant more. When you go to a live event for the first time and you're a big wrestling fan and you've never been to an event before, it's a completely different experience than you would be watching it at home, you know.
Totally.
Yeah, that kind of led me more and more into it, where I was like, man, I got to do this. But I never really kind of had the funds. Really, you know, other teenage bullshit happened. You know, you want to go out and party, you want to play music all the time, you want to hang out with friends, do all that stuff. So I did that after high school as well for a little bit. And I want to say it wasn't until 2016 that I had kind of a life-changing experience. I was diagnosed with a critical illness that I could have died from. I had to have immediate surgery done on me, and the recovery time, I spent probably about 2 weeks in the hospital. I had a whole bunch of tubes going down my nose, one coming out my mouth. I had an IV on both of my arms, and it just sucked, man. It was like the most horrible experience of my life. But during that time too, I got to sit back and think, man, I want to at least do a lot of stuff in my life before, like, you know, I actually move on, pass away, whatever. And I was like, I'm going to recover from this, and then I'm going to see what I can do. So then after 8 to 9 months of being in recovery at home, I couldn't work. I had to take this special kind of medicine to help me, which I had to have this pump strapped around my chest. Once, I want to say once a week for 2 days. And it made it kind of really hard for me to kind of go out there to get hired, because I had to leave my job beforehand. Because I was a liability, you know, with the illness. And so I just decided to wait it out. 8 months goes by. In the beginning of 2017, I was fully recovered. I felt great. I looked great. I looked a lot better. I felt a lot better. And I got hired on at this great company that treats me pretty good. I'm still working for them to this day. And I want to say between 2018 and 2020, within a 3-year span, I got to be with this chick. It's going to sound corny as hell, but it's a funny story, and that's what these things are all about too. So, so I actually ended up getting with this chick that I kind of crushed on for about 7 years prior to that. And so we were kind of like on and off because it was a little bit rocky at first. And this last time in 2020 kind of was like a wake up call for me. And it's like I found out some dirt about her that turned out to be true. So I kicked her out of my house and I fell into a little bit of a depression state for, I want to say, about 2 to 3 months. And what helped me through that is gaming and professional wrestling. And I kind of fell out of wrestling for a while there as well. And I kind of got back into that when after that happened. And then I heard about AEW and I was like, oh man, I got to check this out. So I was watching the pay-per-views before they were actually on TNT. And I was like, man, this is awesome. These guys are all indie talents too. Guys I never heard of, guys that have talent that are allowed to showcase their talent the way they want to. And I was like, man, I wonder if I could still move around like I used to. So I usually go to the local YMCA here in my town and I work out, and then I'll do my stretches, and then I'll do some rolls because I have mats over there. And I'll stretch to see if I can still stretch like I could before. I'll roll around to see if I can roll around like I could before without getting dizzy. I'll lift. I'll do everything that I possibly can. And I was like, and I did that for about maybe 2-3 years, and from 2017 to 2020. And I was like, after that, the final breakup happened between me and my ex, and the 3 to 6 month process went away. I was like, man, I want to do something with my life. And this was during COVID, mind you. So this whole time this was going on, everybody, I guess, quote, had to stay home. I'm in the business of the trucking business. I work at a terminal. I work on tractors and trailers. So my job entails for me to constantly be at work so everybody can get their supplies, whether there's a crisis going on or not nationally. So we were also getting weekly bonuses. So that was like stacking up, piling up, and I was going to save that. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, I'm 31 years old right now, about to be 32. I'm still considered to be young or a kid. I was like, I have the money to do this. I got to reach out to somebody to see what I can do. So I called out originally to Black and Brave, and I talked to Merrick a little bit, and he said that he required half of the payment up front and the rest of it on day one, which is understandable. You know, I had the money saved up and I was thinking about doing it. And I was like, well, would it be all right if I could come down, roll around in the ring, maybe take a couple of bumps to see if my body can handle it? Because I have just recovered from an illness and surgery, and I didn't want to like pay for something to be like, oh yeah, here you go, and then I can't do it because my body was still recovering and I was too weak, and I'm like out like however much money it was.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, you know, dilling around on Facebook trying to look for schools, and then I forgot. In 2018 and 2019, I reached out to Impact Pro Wrestling, Troy Peterson's promotion, beforehand as well, to ask him about, or to talk to him about the training process and what it costs. And it seemed like it was a better deal. And as 2019 and 2020 went on, and now into 2021, he would, around the time when new classes were coming up, he would reach out to me, hey, are you still interested in doing this? And in 2021, I was like, you know what? I called up Troy. I talked to him probably for about a good hour and a half, letting him know what I've, you know, been through. You know, I'm recovered. I got a great job. I got a better car than what I had before. They're in Collins, Iowa. And I was like, all right, let me come. If it's all right with you, I'd like to come down there and see if I can hit the ropes, see how well I can do that, see how well I can take a couple of bumps. And they were more than happy to let me come down there and talk with James Jeffries and you know, talk to him a little bit. And you know, he gave me a suplex, a fisherman suplex, I learned how to do a bump. I learned how to kind of bounce off the ropes. And I was like, man, I can still do this, you know? It's like, man, I think I want to do it. I was like, all right. So I was like, how much it costs to put down? And then he was like, X amount of dollars gets you in. And then if you want, you can pay weekly up to the point to where you finally pay it off. The program's about 4 months, I believe, 16 weeks, a 16-week program. And that's the most fun I've had in my life, that I could actually go out and say that I did this on my own. Because there's been some people in my life that where I've asked for help, not begged for help, but kind of just, to also, pay them back as well, because I'm not that type of person, and this is something that I was completely proud of doing for myself, especially after recovering from illness like that. And that was, and before you know it, I was like, man, that was it. And I was like, man, because at first I knew that there was going to be people that have gone there beforehand, before my class did, and probably has like said, man, I can't do this anymore, like maybe 4 or 5 weeks in. But I pushed through it. There were times, I'm not going to lie, there were times where I felt like it was too much for me to do. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. You know what? Screw it. I am going to do this because I know I can, and I paid the money for it. So, him, TS Aggressor, Travis Shillington, and Troy, they were all amazing to me. And within the process of going through school and talking to them about, behind the scenes wrestling stuff, and just very, very knowledgeable about pretty much anything or any question that I asked.
That's awesome. And great that, you got that second lease on life, basically. And, you hear about it every so often. Somebody gets that second lease on life, and then, something that they had only really been thinking of, and then they finally decide, you know what, heck with it, I'm going for it. Sounds like that's very much what you did. And, getting out there and, getting to roll around and, getting the feel for it. Awesome stuff. Then I'm curious, because everybody has their own way of coming up with the in-ring personas that they use. How would you say you came up with yours? Because I know from what I've gathered on like Instagram and some other stuff, it seems very gaming related, because of some of the pictures I've seen getting posted. How would you say you came up with it?
All right, so I can't remember who said it. Man, I wish I did. I wish I could, but there's been a lot within the last few months, still like the last year, that's been going on. But there was a seminar that I was like skimming through on YouTube, and one of the guys that's been in the business for I think like 40 plus years said that when you're coming up, when you're in school and you're coming up with your character, you have to sprinkle some of your own reality in with that character. And my life, like video games and anything pop culture related, including TV shows, music, all that stuff, has saved my life many times, especially when I was a lot younger. When I grew up in a household that really wasn't the greatest, in my opinion. I've come to terms with that, and I've forgiven my family members as well, just so that I could get that moving on process. And hopefully, at that time, I was thinking, man, hopefully this kind of relieves that stress and that weight off my shoulders, and I can focus on myself. And it really has.
That's good.
But yeah, as you can see behind me too, like
Yeah.
This is my wall of games, and it goes from top, like my ceiling to my floor. And that's the stuff that I've had over with. Hold on, so there we go. So within a span of, I want to say, about almost 20 years, like like stuff like this right here means the world to me, because during the hardest and roughest times, the games that I have were there for me. And I have that emotional attachment, as well as wrestling, as well as the pop culture aspects of the 80s and 90s and 2000s as well. Like all that stuff was there for me.
No, that's awesome. And I've mentioned it to a few different people that I've talked to that, pro wrestling has, for me, provided an escape from I've been open about it, about some of the crazy shit that's gone on for me the last year or so. And professional wrestling has provided that escape. And I'm not as heavy into gaming as I had been, but that very much in the same light provides that escape from the craziness that, you can just sit back and watch. We're on, as of recording this Monday Night Raw. We're in WrestleMania week. There's going to be a lot of times to just sit down, watch a wrestling show, and just, at least for that time that you're sitting down, just forget about it. It's outside of all that. Very much so in the light of gaming, sitting down, concentrating on the game, or sitting down watching a favorite movie or whatever it might be. And it's awesome to hear stories of, people taking what might be tough situations and finding that positivity and that escape. Love to hear it. And one thing that I love hearing about, especially for people that might be relatively new in the business, what is a personal highlight of yours so far? Because I've seen some pictures that look like there was some pretty interesting events that you've been involved with.
Oh yeah, I've got one. So I used to be a part of the original gaming community on YouTube back in 2009 to about, I want to say, 2014. It was like a boom for YouTube. Like everybody started doing it, and I was like, oh man, this is cool. I got to do this. Maybe I can connect with people, that are like me. And I connected with so many people. I made so many friends, and I, to the point where I got invited to go out to CGE, which is Classic Gaming Expo in Las Vegas, and I got to meet up with friends that I have never met before, and that was like a highlight of my life. And I'm really hoping to see those guys again. I don't know when, but I had a blast with them. And then moving on to that following year in 2013, I got to go out to Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And one of my friends let me stay at his house for a week. He didn't have to, but he did. And he fed me, he took care of me, and pretty much let me do what I wanted there while he was at work. And I cannot thank him enough for doing that. So if you're watching this, Dynasty Warrior 6, you're awesome. And so then after that, there was an event here in Iowa in Ottumwa. And I don't know if you're aware of Twin Galaxies.
I've heard of it.
It's I don't believe it's there anymore or in existence. I could be wrong on this. I haven't followed it so long, but they had like this sub expo going on called Grassroots Gaming Expo, and that was an awesome experience too. Walter Day, the official scorekeeper of Twin Galaxies, was down there. He was also down in Vegas too. I got a picture with him, and I got to talk with him as well for a little bit, and just meeting all these different people, not just friends that I've made connections with, but people within the gaming industry, talking to them, asking them, where they got their start, how did they get to the business. And it's just, I guess that also kind of helped me entail like what I initially wanted to do with my life. And after having all those experiences, like I've noticed that there was this one in particular event that I've never heard of, and I'm surprised I never heard of it. It's like maybe 2.5, 3 hours away from my town that I live in, and it's called the Midwest Gaming Classic. And in 2019, I messaged Dan, who's the co-owner of the Midwest Gaming Classic, and I was like, "What's the VIG Gamer Pass all about?" Because from what I see, it looks like it just gives you early entry and access to an after party. And he explained to me a little bit about everything that it includes. And he was like, "Why don't you come up here this year and check it out for yourself?" And I was like, "All right, I'll do that." You know, I've been to CGE, I've been to Portland Retro, I've been to Grassroots Gaming, I've been to Twin Galaxies, and I wanted to meet these other guys too, like Tim Kitzrow, the voice of NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and all those great games. And I got to hang out with all of the original Mortal Kombat guys, and I actually got to have them sign my Sega Genesis game.
Oh, nice.
Which is freaking awesome. Like the experience is like it's more than just an experience when you're someone like me. And I'm sure you could relate too, because like if you go to a wrestling event, like a WWE event, and then you get access to go backstage and to see all these wrestlers and you get to bullshit with them. Like if there was an after party and these guys were all there, like Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, all these guys were just sitting there at the table kind of eating, and they're looking at you and like, "Come over here, eat with us, let's talk." And that's exactly what this experience was for me. And it's like Eric Bischoff was there, Ted DiBiase was there. Ted DiBiase brought down the Midwest Gaming Classic Championship belt to give to Eric Bischoff because he was the commentator for the competition or the whatever it was. Like I'm getting excited here. But the tournament, the gaming tournament, to become the first ever Midwest Gaming Classic champion. And I got to attend like panels with these guys, and I got to talk with them. I got to shake their hand, take my picture with them, and it's more than an experience. And so that night at Saturday night at the after party, it was Eric Bischoff and some other guy from WWE that was doing the commentating for the tournament, and it was WCW NWO Revenge on the N64. I was player 2 of the first 4 that entered, and I stood there for about 40 to 45 minutes just doing this like combo or something on everybody. Nobody could understand like what I was doing. Eric Bischoff is like, "Look at this guy. Can't any of you like see what he's doing? Like outsmart him." And then I looked at Eric Bischoff for a quick second and I smiled at him because I was like, I know what you're doing. And I looked back and at the TV, and then my guy was outside of the ring, and I was like, "Oh man, I should have done that." So my guy I quickly pressed the up button on the C pad because that was the button to get back into the ring. And then I just started throwing everybody else out, throwing him out. And then I eventually won the tournament. And the guy that I used was Buff Bagwell. And I took a picture.
Buff Daddy.
That's right. So I took a picture of me holding the belt and the controller, and then Buff is behind me on the TV screen that says winner. And I plan to actually take that with me when I go down to meet him at this Planet Funk Con in Davenport nice. in August. He's going to be there, and I'm going to tell him, "Yeah, you don't know this, but you kind of helped me become a first ever champion at an event." So
cool story right there.
Yeah, and then the belt was presented to me by Eric Bischoff. I got my picture taken with him. And like I had no idea that any of this was gonna happen. Like it just happened. And then my confidence level just fucking boom blew up inside me. And then that's also what kind of helped me make the decision to be a professional wrestler as well. It's like, I know I can do this. I've taken the bumps or whatever. I've taken suplexes, Fisherman suplex. I'm going to try to do it all. I'm going to try to do everything that I can. Now you'll see me jumping over the top rope, doing a spin, landing like Spider-Man, looking at my opponent, and all this other great stuff that I do. And it's awesome. Like I'm super happy that I did made the choice that I made. I'm also in the process of showing my kids that no matter, because her mom and stepdad, I'm not sure if this is true or not, because they like to tell stories, but they tell me that, oh, they talk bad about you because you're a pro wrestler and you don't really wrestle, you don't really fight. And I'm just like, it's all right, just let them think about that. It's a silly thing that I'm doing, but I keep telling them, no matter what, no matter how silly it might seem to them, no matter how funny it might be to them, that's not going to bother me, because this is something that I've wanted to do my whole life. And no matter what, and I keep telling my kids this too, so they never forget, whatever it is you want to do in life, don't ever let anybody try to bring you down from it, because it's what you want to do. It's not about making other people happy. It's about what you want to do. My oldest wants to be a singer / dancer like JoJo Siwa. And I'm like, well, if that's what you want to do when you're older, I mean, you gotta stick to it. You gotta practice. You go to dance class and music class in school and stick with it.
Oh yeah, no, very good advice. Being very good role model there, because anybody can do anything they want. They set their mind to it, as long as anything worth doing is worth putting your full effort in. And as long as you're willing to do that and put in the hard work, there ain't a damn thing that can stop you.
That's right.
Well, we kind of talked a little bit about, the collection you got there behind you. I love talking with people that I have on about things outside of wrestling. We kind of talked some about gaming. What would you say? You got quite a variety there. What would you say is some of your favorites? Is like, let's say you have some of your favorite games back there, like some unique items.
One of the games that you don't really see every day out there in the wild, well, you can't really find anything out in the wild anymore, is what me and my friends used to call it, is at a garage sale at one point. Let's see if I can bring it down, because the price tag is still on it, or the marker of the price is still on it. So I was going to this garage sale when I was biking around town, and that's what I used to do back in the day when I was living in an apartment and I didn't have kids. And I found this game I could not believe that I found it. They wanted $4 for it. Today, this game goes for around $600 to $800, and that's just mind blowing, because it's such a great game. I believe everybody deserves to play it, and that's Earthbound.
I've heard lots about it, and everything I hear, yep, it's one of those games that during the midst of the Super Nintendo lifespan, it didn't seem like too many people talked about it. But now it's like you said, it's one of those games that's just skyrocketed in value. And good Lord, even a loose copy of it is super expensive.
Right. And the thing is too, like, if anybody doesn't really want to spend all of that money, I got lucky and started collecting before the retro gaming bubble fucking just blew up, just so big, and everybody keeps talking about like how it's going to burst soon. I don't think it is, because for the simple fact that everything is starting to go digital now. And in my opinion, I've dabbled with computer technology since I was 7 years old. I've taken apart computers, replaced capacitors, soldered, did all that fun stuff at a very young age. And what I would do mainly is me and my brother and our friend would walk up and down our street, our neighborhood street on garbage days, and we would bring home broken electronics. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have Google. We didn't have any tutorial videos besides books. And that's where we gained our knowledge from. So we would either repair them, sell them, or keep them. And that was a pretty fun thing to do. And the interest, in my opinion, has never really left, has always been there for me.
Yeah.
It never really left. And it just progressed on. Now I can make my own miniature gaming consoles that have all of the original Nintendo, Super Nintendo games on there. And it's pretty cool. You can also have like custom backgrounds and stuff, making it look really old, really vintage. And I'm a big fan of like vintage anything from the 80s up to like the 2000s. But moving on from that, another one of my favorites is the Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo.
One of my favorite games ever. I still have my cartridge around here someplace. But yeah, easily one of my favorite video games ever right there. Love it.
And also, you can never go wrong with Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, yeah. That's a classic.
And I don't know if you can see that. This is another reason why I go every year up to the Midwest Gaming Classic. They had David Wise and I can't remember the other guy's name, but the other guy, David Wise, is the music composer to the soundtrack to all the Donkey Kong Country games and Battletoads and what have you. And then Kevin Bayliss, he's the one that took the original Donkey Kong image from the arcade game and created it into that.
Nice.
And when I heard they were going to be up there, I was like, oh my God, man, I cannot believe this. This is mind-boggling to me because it's like, I'm going to meet these guys. I'm going to be able to tell David Wise that the music and his games that he created helped me appreciate video games for more than just the playability. The artwork, the music, everything else, like spending time with family, like with your brothers, because I've got memories playing this game with my family and friends for that matter.
Nice. Yeah, no, all classics. Like, oh man, you bring up a lot of memories. Like I remember, we talked a little bit about some of the stuff going digital, and I know not all that long ago, dog getting up, but not all that long ago, they came out with the Turtles Cowabunga collection, all the vintage games, multiple versions of Turtles in Time. And coincidentally, those were the Super Nintendo and the arcade version of that Turtles in Time game were the first two games on the Cowabunga collection that I beat because I'm like, holy crap, that's going to be on there. I'm playing it now.
Right on, man. Right on. Actually, so after I got done wrestling up in Indiana this past weekend, Johnny Cass earned, instead of getting paid in cash, he got paid with this.
Nice. That is awesome.
So I had fun playing that when I got back into Streeter, Illinois. Stayed up with a buddy there at his apartment, and I played this for about 2 hours after I arrived. It was pretty late at night, so I mean, I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, nope. I've enjoyed it. I know they've had some good Turtles video game stuff out the last year or so with Shredder's Revenge, the Cowabunga collection, and
heck yeah.
Oh man, some great stuff. And really, I'd say it was shortly after the Shredder's Revenge came out that it really got me back into wanting to rebuild my Ninja Turtle collection. Is I used to have like all sorts of the figures and stuff, and now I'm starting to rebuild a little bit. I got a 30th anniversary super shredder from the Secret of the Ooze,
Oh, nice.
I got that. I got a handful of the Funko Pops. I got a handful of the figures. I'm forgetting what company made them, but they look more like the original cartoon from back in the
Oh,
day.
you're talking. I think you're talking about NECA, because I've collected from them too.
I'm wanting to say it was another company. Like, I'm trying to recognize the logo, but I do have some of their stuff, and my dogs are acting crazy right now. But yeah, those two games got me into that, and then one game right now that I'm really wanting to get that I haven't gotten yet is the wrestling fan in me, WWE 2K23, because I'm really wanting to get into that War Games mode. Like, I heard they were bringing that in there. I'm like, oh damn, I gotta have that.
Right. Yeah, I still got to get that as well.
Because I'm trying to think, the last game that I bought, I'm wanting to say was Gotham Knights. I need to pick that back up because I got a little ways through, and then I started getting, a little more heavy into scheduling stuff for the podcast, that I just kind of went to the side for a little bit, but I'm going to need to get back into that. But what would you say out of, well, we kind of already went over a couple of the autographed items that you have, because I don't really have too many autographed video game items. Plenty of wrestling ones, not too many video game ones. You talked about the Donkey Kong Country one. You got the Mortal Kombat autographs. You got any others in there that you might want to share?
I do. So let's grab this. Let's do that for now. All right. So I'll pick two more out.
Okay.
Do this one first. Right now, I've got Disney's Chippendale Rescue Rangers, and this got signed by Tad Stones.
Oh man, I love playing that game. I haven't seen it around in a while, but I remember I had a friend growing up that had that game, and man, I loved it. I'm a sucker for the Chippendale Rescue Ranger stuff.
Right on, man. And the next one I have is, I decided to pull this one out because it's wrestling related.
Okay.
Is WWE Legends of WrestleMania for the PS3. And this is signed by Ric Flair, Jimmy Hart, Jake the Snake, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, damn. Okay. That's impressive. I remember playing that game.
And I love how Jake signed it in green as well.
I was gonna say, if you had him signing on it, I was thinking green would probably be a fitting color. That is for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's awesome. Like I said, I don't have so many of the video game stuff autographed, but that's a cool wrestling related one that I don't have. I know most of my wrestling related ones, I have a handful of DVD covers signed, like the Elimination Chamber, where on the cover it looks like Edge is biting the cage.
Yep.
I have that signed by him.
Nice.
That's a favorite of mine. And I have the original ECW One Night Stand signed by Jericho and Stevie Richards.
That's awesome.
That's another favorite of mine. One of the more unique items that I have that I got because of the podcast, I had Alex Colon on a while back. one of my absolute favorites. I'm a huge deathmatch fan, but Alex Colon just has that intensity about him that I just love it. And shortly after we stopped recording, he mentioned that this was before he decided to take a break, which, I mean, he deserves it. But
Right.
He was investing in some new kick pads and was looking to sell off the ones that he had. So I was like, well, how much are you wanting for them? And he said, make me an offer. Well, long story short, I did. And now I have ready to get framed up, signed ring-worn kick pads from Alex Colon. And I actually found a picture of him online wearing them. And I'm like, dude, I'm getting right in there with them.
Nice.
That and the door that I mentioned towards the beginning. Like, holy shit. Like, that is going to be a definite conversation starter when I go to get stuff in the man cave finally set up. And, people come down and they're like, what in the hell is that?
Heck yeah, man.
But yeah, no, some great stuff, great memories attached to all of it, which I've talked to a lot of people when it comes to getting autographs. I'm not so much of a person that gets stuff bought that was already signed. I like taking it to the person, meeting them, and having that story like, yeah, I remember when I got that signed. And, people often talk about, with items, especially if you're getting stuff that's already bought or already signed, certificates of authenticity and that sort of stuff. Because, I mean, obviously people don't want to get ripped off. But I love having that, like for my Green Ranger Funko Pop that I got signed by Jason David Frank. I love having that story of like certificate authenticity. Well, here's a picture of him holding the Funko Pop like the Morphin thing. That good enough for you? I love stuff like that.
Heck yeah, man. Whenever I get stuff autographed, it's going to be from my personal collection. And I will always tell them to make it out to me so they know that I am serious about having them sign it to me. And they actually appreciate that as well. Like, I've been told by many different superstars and actors and even people that have been in the gaming business, oh, that's cool, man. People usually just want our autographs too, so they can sell it on eBay or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
Oh yeah, no. When I'm getting stuff signed, I'm very much the same way. I mean, I don't always have them sign it to me. I mean, if they go ahead and ask, but sometimes they just go ahead and just start signing. So I'm like, hey, cool. But everything I get signed for my personal collection, and it'll pretty much stay with me until I'm, dead and gone. But one thing that some people, damn dog's going crazy. Some people might not know between the two of us that we got introduced at a wrestling revolver show that was actually not all that long ago here. And, I have two categories that, God damn dogs. I have two categories that I like to round off the show with. One's a bit of a name game, and when I do that, I kind of like to tailor it. Dogs are being distracting right now, but I kind of like to tailor it to the guest. And I figured, you know what? We got introduced at Revolver. I'm going to go ahead and, theme this somewhat towards Revolver. So these people have, either been at Revolver shows, been in them, so on. With the exception of one. But I'll explain him when we get to him. But
Okay.
first off, the Death Machine, Sami Callihan. And you just give me your first thoughts on him.
This arrogant monster-looking dude that will destroy you once you get into his way. Like he is like, I never even heard of him even before when he was in Impact, and then probably about maybe 2 years ago I did, and like I saw some of the stuff that he was doing, and it's like, man, this guy's a monster. He's a beast, and it's like he looks like he's a bigger guy, but don't ever let that fool you. And that's the one thing that I love about professional wrestling in today's world is that you don't have to have a body like Ultimate Warrior. You don't have to have the looks like John Morrison or Adam Cole. You know, you can just be that rugged looking badass motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if
Yep.
we're allowed to swear or not.
Oh, no. YouTube, the video version I put up on YouTube, and as far as I've been made aware, they kind of have released the button on, not penalizing people for foul language. But
Okay.
I wasn't even getting monetized yet, so whatever.
Okay.
But, I have to agree, Sami Callihan, the few interactions I've had with him outside of, well, really just at shows, but outside of his character, I guess, have all been good. But he definitely, when he's in show mode, he definitely has that aura about him where it's like, you see him coming, you get the fuck out of his way, because if you don't, he's going to bowl you right over.
Yep.
And hey, I got to respect that. I got to respect that intensity and that, that just sheer attitude of, you know what? I know what I need to do. You're either with me or get the fuck out of my way.
Right.
I got to love it.
And I got to say the same as well. Like when he's not being the Death Machine, he's the real Sami Callihan is an awesome person, man.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah, totally agree. Next up, guy that I've had on the show, and he also was involved in what I consider my first ever, air quotes, legit death match, and not just one of those things that's billed as a death match that's more like the standard no DQ stuff. Jake Christ.
I don't know too much about him. Is he from Impact?
He was, but now he does all throughout the indies, does good work with the, Circle Six, is actually involved with Sami Callihan in the school that they're building up there in Ohio, I'm wanting to say. And he was, before things started going downhill for IWA Mid-South, he was actually their champion. But then when, stuff happened and people weren't getting paid, he told his manager, who I've also had on, that, he said to just start filming. And basically a while back, he released a video of him literally burning the IWA Mid-South belt.
Wow.
He is, he's very much, and I love him to death, because like I said, I'm open about some of the craziness that's happened in my last year or so. My wife and I were pregnant. We're supposed to be having twin girls. They ended up being born prematurely and only made it about a week. And I mean, to this day, it's a hard thing to talk about too much, but
right.
Shortly after, one of the first wrestling shows that I went to after all that was a Revolver show with that death match in it. And, I got to talk with him after, and, just the reassurance and the comforting vibes that I got from that talk, I'm like, dude, you got a fan for life in me, man.
Yeah, and you know what? That's what it's all about too. Like I love when fans come up to me either after or before my match, or during intermission. You know, if they want to talk, that's cool. The only thing I ask is when they come up to talk with me or to me, is if they kind of step to the side if they're not going to buy merch, because I've had this happen where someone would come up to me and talk to me for about 15 minutes, the whole intermission time, and there would be like 2 or 3 fans behind them looking at my merch, waiting, and they would just walk off or walk away. And it's like I blew a couple of sales, man. But yeah, I love chatting with the fans. They're awesome. They're great. Just if you're talking to a wrestler, make sure you're off to the side a few feet away so other people can have a chance at buying some of their merch.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely a common courtesy thing because
Yeah.
oh yeah, because while you love to, like I know I love talking to whatever wrestler it might be at the time, but I don't want to take away from somebody else that is also a fan of them being able to, buy a t-shirt, buy a 8x10, whatever it might be.
One of the things, I don't mean to interrupt you, man. One of the things I wanted to bring up too, since we're on the topic of merch, there was a kid that came up to my table. I think he was about maybe 9 or 10 years old, and he just had a blank piece of paper, and he was asking, me and this wrestler A and B if he could sign, that blank piece of paper. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? Why not give him a free 8x10? He's a kid, and it'll be a moment that he might even remember for the rest of his life. You never know, and that's the thing about these indie shows too, is that you never know whose lives you're going to touch. You never know where you're going to go with indie wrestling. You never know if you're going to get signed, if you're going to go here or there. And then those fans that you made a connection with on the indie scene are going to have that memory, that moment with them for the rest of their lives.
Totally.
And it will make it mean all that much more.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's awesome that that kid got that, because I know, heck, when I was around that age, independent wrestling wasn't as, it didn't have that boom yet. Back when I was that age, if there was independent wrestling, it was a little more spaced out than it is now. You got a lot of places all throughout all the different areas of the country. And, I knew if I were that age and I had something like that happen, oh boy, I'd be talking about it with everybody for days. And that's awesome that kid got an experience like that. Another guy that was on the Revolver show that we got introduced at, current, and as far as I'm still aware, still one of the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions, along with Ace Austin, Chris Bay.
He's a great talent. He's from what I've seen of his stuff, like, again, I haven't really watched too much of his stuff, but I think he came from Impact as well, if I'm not mistaken, or WWE, because the name rings a bell.
He's with Impact right now, and he does a lot of stuff.
I'm sorry, I meant to say WWE before, but I think he was with WWE.
You know what? I'd have to double check on his history, but I know right now, like I said, part of the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions, and also does a lot of work over with New Japan.
Right.
And being a part of the Bullet Club. So definitely a cool thing there. And I've had nothing but pleasant experiences with him. He's definitely a amazing talent, doing great things. Was actually just on future stars of wrestling out of Vegas. They had their big Mecca show this last weekend, and he is as well. I'd have to go back and watch the show, but at the time before the show, he was their Mecca champion. So some cool stuff. And, we talked a little bit about at the beginning of how I went to a recent Mid-Death Pro show. This guy, last on the list for the name game, big presence there at Mid-Death Pro, the current Mid-Death Pro champion, the Carver.
He's as the wrestler, the Carver. He's as nasty as they come. He's brutal. I'm not sure if I think our match was recorded. I haven't seen anything yet online of it. But I did have the chance and opportunity to wrestle him and Joey Knotts a couple of weeks ago, or I think it was last week or something like that. And when he kicked me, I'll tell you what, I didn't even see it coming. I was beating on Joey Knotts. I did the Rolling Thunder when I put the chair on top over him. It was a couple of weeks ago, and I did the Rolling Thunder. Then as soon as I got up and I turned around, the next thing I know, I fucking hear boom, 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 bam, boom, right to the side of my face. Almost knocked me out cold. Hard enough to where he kicked me out of the ring. I didn't know where I was at. I was looking around like dazed, and then I hear kids like talking and asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "How did I get out here? Who are you?" And then I started getting up, and I still had no idea what was going on. And then I turn around, and then there's Joey Knotts with a metal sheet of some sort, and just bam, cracks me right on my head super hard. And it was a great match, man. I hope somebody taped it and puts it on YouTube.
Oh yeah, no, I look forward to getting my eyes on that one. And I've had pleasant experiences with the guy behind the Carver character, but oh my God, that guy is very dedicated to that damn character. Once he puts on everything, holy shit. I don't know of too many people more dedicated to a character than the Carver. And
right.
God damn, is he when he's in Carver mode, holy shit, is intimidating is the way that I would put it.
Right.
Because you see like mid-death, no ring death match show, craziness all around. You see that guy walking your direction with whatever damn weapon it might be. You're like, okay, I'm just going to sit right here. I'm not moving.
Right.
I don't want to get in the way of that.
If you think like, if you feel that way when you're watching him, imagine standing across the ring from him. And I didn't, hold on one second. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
All right. So yeah, just imagine like standing across from him in a ring, not even seeing him come right at you, and then he just hits you with a massive boot with this force behind it. Like it was almost like superhuman force, man. It really rung my bell.
Oh, I can only imagine. Holy crap. Like, I remember his match in particular, mid-death, I'm spacing off on the guy he was facing, but he literally comes, and the guy is like literally right next to me, the guy he was facing. Carver literally comes over with a crutch, and the part that you normally put under your arm, he literally has that at the guy's throat, and he's just
oh yeah.
And I'm like,
I would hate to be taking that.
I'm like, oh, damn. It was intensity. Well, last category I have to kind of round things off, I have some random questions. Only 2 questions I really keep in here every time, the first and the last one. Other than that, I never know what I'm putting in until I'm making up the notes. But you answer how you see fit for each one.
Okay.
First question, craziest in-match moment for you personally?
The craziest. Let's see. I would have to say when it was recent. It was last night, and this match, I believe, is going to be uploaded here soon as well. When I had a fatal 4-way match for the U.S. title, and there was this guy named Jimmy Jack Daniels, and he's a big guy. And I tried to do what I could to take him down. He took my shoulder blocks like they were nothing, and then me and John Bonhart tried, teaming up to take him down, clothesline both of us. He doesn't throw me, but he picks me up, sets me up into the corner, and John's already like trying to get up in the other corner, and then he goes over. And this guy's like 350, 400 pounds, splashes him, turns around, comes at me like a freight train, and you'll be able to see me like getting up, trying to move, but I can't because I'm hurting. And then he comes towards me, boom, like smashes me down to the point where I fall on my ass. And then John falls on his ass. And then he looks around and he's like, it's ass time or butt time or whatever what he said. And then he comes running at John Bonhart, hits him in the face with his ass. Then he comes running at me and hits me in the face with his ass. And it's like, besides getting that boot to my face by Carver, that was intense. That was, dude, that I would say that's almost equal. But Carver's force was just harder hitting.
Okay. I've never been, in a match, but I've definitely witnessed in person my fair share of crazy ones. A couple that I like to always talk about is, one was at Revolver with Jake Chris, actually, where they took 4 metal folding chairs, bridged 2 panes of glass on them, and then Jake's manager, Bobby Olson, comes in, pulls out lighter fluid, and lights the glass on fire. And I forget the move specifically, but boom, they go through. Jake ends up winning the match. But another guy that actually introduced me to my wife was in a multi-person ladder match. This promotion's version of Money in the Bank. They had a ladder bridge between the guardrail and the ring apron. He has him on his back, and all of a sudden I see him looking down at the ladder. I'm like, oh my God, no. Jumps, ladder just folds.
Yeah.
And one actually new one, and this one I actually not only put on my event vlog, but I actually put this clip in particular on TikTok. And as of right now, it's sitting just shy of 9,000 views, where it was Joseph Anderson. The character would get pissed at me if I didn't say the name right. But Joseph Anderson versus Con Artiste, and they went outside, and all of a sudden they bridge a door on top of what looked like 2 bar stools. And then there's this little ledge over the top. Con Artiste walks up there. Joey is on top of the ladder. Joseph, I did it again. But he's on top of the door. And he's like, should I kill this motherfucker? And then, like, fuck it. Leaps. Joseph, like, rolls off the table, but the door, rolls off of the door. The door goes with him off of the bar stools, and Con Artiste lands on like this on the door.
Oh
It
man.
was just like, oh, my ribs hurt just watching that.
Yeah.
He
That's a bad night for sure.
oh yeah, I would be surprised if he didn't at least have bruised ribs after that one.
Yeah.
But next up, we kind of talked a little bit about some of your games. What would you say is, like, if you could pick a favorite game and a favorite console all time, what would they be?
The Sonic the Hedgehog games for the Sega Genesis.
Cannot argue with that. I know I have downloaded, I believe, the first two, maybe first three on my Xbox, and good old time with those games. Definitely. So that favorite game, what would you say? Would you say favorite console kind of goes along with that Sega Genesis?
Yes.
Okay. Can't argue that.
I'm not one of those types to where like I prefer Sony over Microsoft or Nintendo over Sega or anything, because I grew up with all this stuff with friends that actually had the systems that I didn't have. So I kind of got to experience everything. But the one that really amazed me most was the Sega Genesis, because back in the 90s, you wanted games to look like arcades.
Oh,
And that's pretty much what the Sega was. And then I remember even the Sega Channel when they came out, which is this adapter that you hook the cable plug up to, and then you have, I think it was like 30 to 50 different games a month. And they would also have like games that you could test out that aren't even released in stores yet, like Sonic 3. And I can't remember what else, but yeah, they were it was something cool to have.
Oh no, I can definitely agree. I know I didn't personally have the Sega Genesis, but I know plenty of people that did, and I can very much agree with you. Sega Genesis did have that arcade looking feel to it. Personally, two of my personal favorites as far as consoles were either the Nintendo 64 or the PlayStation 2, like all time. But game, oh boy, that one's hard. That one is a bit harder. But one that we kind of talked a little bit about earlier, I'm just going to go ahead and say that one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. Love that damn thing. I could play it over and over and just
Heck
love
yeah, man.
Well, I would be feeling kind of silly if I had a show called Drinkin at Moe's and I didn't have a question like this. Favorite drink, alcoholic, non, or one of each?
My favorite alcoholic drink I like to kick back, especially after a show, is Bud Light. But if you're talking hard stuff, I love my rum. I can't really hold up to that anymore these days, but I still love to drink my rum and my Bud Light. Now, drink wise, not alcoholic, I would have to say I prefer Pepsi Zero Sugar.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. My wife kind of thinks that I have a bit of a, well, Dr. Pepper problem. I got told I probably need to switch to the zero sugar diet, but I tell her I don't, and I love telling this little joke. I tell her I don't have a problem. I have it figured out. The only problem I has is if I don't have any. But
There you go, man.
beer wise, I do enjoy good Bud or Busch Light from time to time. Personal favorite beers, though, I gotta go. I do love Coors Banquet and this one that I got hooked on in the Navy Kona Big Wave. It just tasty as hell. Love it. They don't sponsor me, but I wouldn't be opposed to it if I ever got them to.
Right on, man.
Now, when it comes to independent wrestling, especially with, all the weekends and road trips that you go through, what would you say are some road trip must-have supplies?
I always pack my my gear. My gear is always, who can forget their gear?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I have street clothes for my character as well. So if I'm there for a show, in case they need me, I can dress up as Johnny Cass with street clothes. And other than that, I always have my merch on me. You can't ever forget your merch. Even if you show up to a show and they're like, "Hey, you're not on the card, but if you want to sell your merch, cool." And bringing your merch is always a must as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I always have a cooler with me to put like drinks in, like water or soda, because at certain spots or venues, I don't really like paying more than $2 for a soda or water, especially or a beer for that matter, like $6 to $8 for a beer. I'd rather go out to my car and just have one or two there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I can definitely agree. Some of the venue prices, I mean, it is what it is, but some of them for the size that you get, yeah, no, I am agreeing with you completely.
Right. Like I get like supporting businesses, but I'm not going to sit there and shell out $8 to $10 for a 12-ounce glass of beer. That's a draft. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do it. I'll just go out to my car and to my little cooler and pull one out. Drink one with a fan, even if they see me. Hey,
yeah. No, I can definitely agree with that. Last but not least, the only other question that I keep on here all the time, because I love ending this category with this one: best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Make sure that this is something that you want to dedicate yourself to, because you're not just dedicating yourself mentally, you're also doing it physically, which means you got to take a life-changing step towards your future. You have to work out constantly. You have to eat healthy. On the road, it's really kind of hard to do. But if you ask around, or local talent, hey, do you know any places like local restaurants that don't have like greasy foods or anything like that? And they'll 9 times out of the time be like, oh yeah, come with us, or right down the street from the venue, there's a great place. And also, always, please, who's ever watching this and wants to become a professional wrestler, do your research on schools. If you go to a show in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Georgia, Florida, wherever, and you go to a show and you're like, man, I want to do this, talk to the wrestlers first. And ask them, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Is there a school around this area that I could go to? Instead of going or looking online and then, oh, here's the Joe Blow promotion right here. Message them, and then they're like, okay, yeah, come on down. And then they'll get you to start training within like 2 weeks to a month in. They'll have you doing shows already that you're not prepared for. They'll have you do stuff that you're not prepared for. They'll pretty much rip you off. I'm not saying that happens around here. I'm just saying that I've heard horror stories. And one of those horror stories coming from Bully Ray personally.
I think I've definitely heard people like him talking about it. But then you bring up a good point with, doing your research on the schools, because, especially if you're going to a show and you want to do it, no better way to learn, like, at least what's out there than from the source of people that are out there. And then also, if you're thinking, and you're a little hesitant on it, damn puppy, but, when you're doing your research and you're just looking around and you might be a little hesitant, maybe thinking, oh man, but this is like 12 hours away. But, if you really do your homework, there is literally reputable schools, multiple, in just about every section of this country. Southern California alone is filled with them. The Midwest, here, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, all throughout, there are reputable schools out there. East Coast, Southeast, all throughout the country. There are.
Right.
So all you really got to do is just do your homework, find out, the reputable places, and, just get yourself out there. And obviously, make sure it's what you want to do, because like I tell people with thinking about getting into the military, it's like you're going to have moments like you kind of alluded to with training for wrestling. You're going to have moments like, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But if you can, just tell yourself,
I don't mean to interrupt. I don't mean to interrupt or anything, but I think if you ask anybody, even if you were to ask John Cena or Kenny Omega or Chris Jericho, like I'm sure they'll all say the same thing. Yes, there was a time, or there were times during training that I wanted to give up and quit, but I stuck with it. And that's one thing that you want to make sure that you are prepared for. From my experience, I want to say as well, you have to expect to make just as many enemies as you do friends. You're going to make friends that are going to become enemies. You're going to make enemies that become friends. Some of those friendships can be mended. Some of them can't. It's happened. Actually happened to me. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to say any promotions or nothing like that. But whatever happened with me and said people, I wish nothing but the best for.
Yeah.
And I don't care what was said to me. I don't care what was PM'd to me on Facebook, whatever. I wish nothing but the utmost success for those individuals. You can't, and that's another thing too. This life is too short to be going on with hatred. I moved on very quickly when that happened with me, and I also reached out to somebody that knew these guys and said, "Hey, I'm not sure if you heard or not. Blah blah blah. This happened, but I would still wish the best for them. Just so you know that this is coming from me and not everybody else." That's it.
Well, and that's a good way to go about it. Being able to move past any of that, because like most things in life, bullshit and drama happens.
Yeah.
But, being able to move on and still wish the people well that were kind of involved in all of it definitely says a lot about a person. If you're able to do that, that is commendable to anybody.
And I kind of learned that as well after I had that experience back in 2016 when I was telling you, I've mended my stuff with my family as well, and I wish everybody the utmost amount of success that they can possibly do in this business. And I absolutely love professional wrestling with every fiber of my being, as well as gaming and pop culture as well is just as important to me as wrestling.
That is awesome. Well, that is about all I have. I want to, before I get into the last little thing, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
Across the board, you can search Johnny Cass _88, or on Facebook, just Johnny Cass as well, like it's spelled here on the screen. and as well as Instagram. I just started up an Instagram account as well. So be looking out for more content on there.
Awesome. We'll have all that information in the description. Like I said, that is about all I have. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. And, best of luck with everything you got coming up.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.